Prologue. I, Jaxon Reed, reject you, Elara Moon, as my mate. With those few words, he had signed my death sentence. He simply turned around and went back to a blonde. Everyone in the lunchroom had their eyes on me. Yes, it embarrassed me beyond compare, but I wouldn't let myself become a laughingstock. Instead of running out of the lunchroom crying, I held my head high and walked out. Of course, the snickers followed me from all the girls. I also caught the looks of pity. As I walked out of school, I just calmly went to my car. I didn't even cry on my way home. It wasn't until I walked into my house and saw my twin brother that tears started to fall. Today was our 17th birthday, and he had opted to stay home. Both of us were able to read when something was wrong with the other. When we were younger, we joked about it being our superpower. He didn't even need to look at me before he paused his video game and ran with incredible speed and wrapped me in his arms. The familiar feeling of my brother made the dam break. Tears poured out of my eyes. What happened? Lance asked. My mate rejected me. I actually heard my brother choke down a sob. Usually, it's girl twins that do everything together. That was my brother and me. We joined the same sports, took the same classes, even though I was the better student. He knew as well as I that in 5 years I would die if I didn't find my second chance. All the lives we never pictured the day when we would die apart. We never thought it would be so far apart from each other. Why would he reject you? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was because I tend to be a know-it-all? Is it the fact that I wear hoodies and leggings all the time? Or maybe it's the glasses and braces that take up my face. I don't know, Lance. All I know is he rejected me for a blonde girl. I cried out. Lance wrapped his arms around me tighter. What's his name? I'll confront him. I couldn't help but force a laugh at my brother. The idea of him going against a beta for me was funny. It wasn't that I didn't have faith he would actually win. I was just scared of what would happen to him if he did. Most likely, he would be thrown out and become a rogue. I heard the door open and shut as my parents walked in. Elara, why are you home? Lance took the liberty of explaining the situation to our parents. My parents hugged me tight. Statistics were against me in this situation. 8 out of 10 times, when someone got rejected, they didn't find their second chance. Mom and Dad had never been shy about telling my brother, little sister Alice, and me these things. They explained to me my 2 options. The first was spent looking for the second chance I may never find. The second was to spend the years I had left to enjoy life. Mom and Dad said that Mom's family had a tradition of setting aside money in case someone got rejected, and they just wanted to go and live life. The account got passed down with each generation and split evenly between the kids. Every month, they added to it since they had smart investments in the stock market. Because of the investments, we were better off than most, but we weren't quite first class. People say that I don't take enough chances. They say I stay too safe in life. I told my parents that I wanted to live a life. Dad went online to book my flight. Lance and Mom helped me pack my bags. When Alice got home, we told her exactly what was going on. Since she was 12, she knew the whole deal with mates and stuff. My first flight was to London to meet with my cousin, who got rejected last month. Within 3 hours, I was saying goodbye to my family and getting on the plane to London. Chapter 1. For years and 9 months later. Mom, are you sure you don't want me to come home early? My mom coughed heavily. No, just stay where you are. I smiled a small bit. Mom and Dad always wanted me to just live a life. For almost 5 years, I have been traveling the world with my cousin. In 2 months, she would meet death. Well, she would if she hadn't found her second chance a year ago. I told her she didn't need to stick around with me, but she insisted, saying I shouldn't travel alone. Right away, when I landed in London, she dragged me to get contacts. It was another month until I got my braces off. That day she took me to replace my wardrobe. These days I wear things like crop tops and skinny jeans. My red hair was longer and had naturally wavy curls. Last year, my mom was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. 2 months ago, she was admitted to the hospital. It was rare that werewolves got cancer, but it happened. I haven't been home since my mate rejected me. The closest I came was 6 months ago when my brother and his mate had their baby girl. Other than that, Every year my parents and I met up somewhere for Christmas and other holidays. Alright, what shirt should I wear? I held up a black top that had angled cuts at the bottom and a low cut in the back. The other top was a dark purple crop top without sleeves. The black one. It goes great with the black jeans and stilettos. Even though Mom was in the States and I traveled, we stayed close. I Skyped her every day I could, and we just talked about random things. In no time, I had the top on and let my hair loose out of the ponytail. Where is Dad? Ever since Mom was put in the hospital, he had been with her every time. He and your sister are out getting food with her mate. Alice had found her mate last week. When I left, I worried that the wolves in her grade would make fun of her since I was rejected. My wolf whimpered at the thought like she did every time I thought about it. I was over it about 6 months after it happened, but my wolf, Jules, was not and wouldn't be unless I found my second chance. Where's your cousin? Mom asked. She and Mike are out at dinner. She didn't go clubbing with me that much anymore, so she treated those nights as date nights. Good for her. My family was open about many things. If someone found their mate, our family was happy for them, even if another had been rejected. Indeed, the night she told me about Mike, I basically threw a party. At first, she tried not to act as excited as she should be for my sake. It took a month before I met him. He knew about my situation, and even now, he didn't bring it up, even though I had accepted my fate. Whenever we went somewhere new, we would spend a week deciding and then another to go. They always left the choice up to me, even though I didn't care that much. Once again, Mom started coughing. She hasn't been doing well the last few days. Mom, I can come home. It was bad enough that my family had to deal with my death in a few months, but with Mom getting worse, there might be 2 funerals within weeks of each other. Elara, I'm fine. Just stay. She started to fight for breath. Stay, she tried again. Mom? Mom? Panic started to build up as her breathing became more labored. I picked up the phone and tried to call Dad, but he didn't pick up. In the background, I heard Doctor shout, "Code Blue," and rush into my mother's room. They didn't take notice of the computer open on Skype besides moving it out of the way. I knew shouting wouldn't do any good at this point. My mom was arrested for almost 30 minutes before they called the time of death. No sooner than they called it, my phone rang. I almost forgot to pick it up because the ringtone was Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. It felt like a Grey's Anatomy episode. As my ringtone was nearing the end, I picked it up. Dad was on the other line. What's up, Elara? Mom's dead. Chapter 2. My flight touched down yesterday at noon. It took a day after my mother's death to get a flight home. My cousin and her mate came back with me. My father was the one who greeted us at the terminal once we got off. He basically cried right there. The embrace he held me in was one where he didn't want to let go. It didn't exactly help when I got to the house that everyone was there. Most of the family hadn't seen me in almost 5 years, so at first they didn't recognize that it was me. I also had to go talk with our Alpha and let him know I was back. Even though I never technically left the pack and became a rogue, I was still treated as one at first. My parents didn't even tell our Alpha the situation until after I was on the flight out of the country. All of the funeral preparation talk got under my skin today. I actually went up to my room and changed to go out. My family at first tried to chastise me, but Lance told them to just let me. You know, because I kind of have that 3 months left to live card to play. I couldn't bring myself to wear the outfit I was going to wear the day Mom died, even though it was clean. Instead, I went with a black skirt, a black top, black stilettos, a silver necklace. Contrary to popular belief, silver didn't hurt werewolves. It just became annoying after 5 hours or so. Hoop earrings, smoky eye makeup with winged liner, and a deep red lipstick. My hair was curled a bit and flowed around my shoulders. I hadn't ever really been to the clubs in town, but I knew Lance had found his mate at one. I asked him which club it was, and he reluctantly told me. It wasn't hard to find once I got into the heart of the city. The line was long but moving quickly. I actually had the least trouble getting out of everyone there. The music was so loud that I couldn't hear any of the voices right next to me. I wasted no time in going right to the bar. Over the years, I have grown a taste for vodka and tequila. The taste started early since I spent most of my time in Europe. It seemed like the club knew I was there because one of my favorite songs played. In less than a second, I downed my shot and went to the dance floor. It wasn't hard to spot other wolves who came tonight. The males who saw me and weren't mated stared at me with interested eyes. Whenever I caught one of their looks, I gave them a friendly wink. Just because I'm dying doesn't mean I can't have fun and enjoy the moment. I can't tell you how many men I danced with. Only one stuck out. His cologne was intoxicating. The more sweat both of us expelled, the more I smelled it. I danced with this man most of the night as I drank. Everyone was dancing closely with each other, including the man I was dancing with. A song ended, and I was facing away from the man. "Want to get away from here?" His husky voice whispered in my ear. I turned around and gave him a smirk. I planted a quick kiss on his lips. As I pulled away, I noticed his forest green eyes. "Sorry, love. Maybe another night." I turned on my heels and walked away. If I had eyes in the back of my head, I could have sworn he was staring at me. I just didn't want to end up being late for my mother's funeral in the morning. I did hope I would meet him again within the next 3 months. Chapter 3. The funeral was short and sweet. Dad, Lance, Alice, and I all gave short eulogies. After we lowered her into the ground, everyone came back to our house for a small luncheon. Most of the day before the funeral, I was cooking. Basically, 85% of the food here I made. Not only was my pack here, but so was my mom's old pack. There were also a few members of other packs here. Those who knew me in my pack barely recognized me. Every so often, I heard comments like, "This family has to deal with so much." At this point, it was common knowledge that I would die in a few months. Dad didn't exactly approve of my dress, but I really didn't care. My dress hugged my frame and had sleeves that didn't come over my shoulders. The black fabric stopped just above my knees, but the black heels supplemented the loss of leg length from the dress. A little bit of cleavage showed as well. Long story short, it was my funeral dress. I bought it earlier this year, and this was the first chance I had to wear it. I was right. "That dress looks great on you, Elara." My cousin Ruby told me. "Well, I learned a while ago never to question your fashion choices." We laughed a bitter laugh. Mike came to join us. "Are you going to leave and continue your trip?" 3 months seemed like such a short time now. "No. I would just be coming back in 2 months. I'm going to introduce Mike to the family." She basically dragged him away. Before he was out of sight, I caught him mouthing the words, "Help me," in my direction. I just gave him a good luck type of look. I walked around the house talking with people. It was like a switch flipped because my wolf started to whimper as I felt a presence behind me. A scent of musk and cologne filled my senses. It's such a shame. She was a nice woman. Jaxon Reed's voice had gotten deeper in the last 4 years. "I know. I heard that this family will also lose their daughter in 3 months. I know. This family is strong though. Even if it is hard, they have everyone's support through these troubling times." I wanted to laugh so much. He didn't recognize me. Maybe the disconnected mate bond fried his brain. Or maybe it's the fact that he is a guy. What do you know about their daughter? If there was one thing I was still hoping to count on, it was his need to brag. Not much. All I know is she fled the country the same day she got rejected. I don't even think she is here. With a smile, I turned around. Oh, trust me, she is. In fact, she was on video chat with her mom when it happened. I told him with a smirk. I swear his jaw dropped to the floor. "Elara, I didn't know." "Save it, Jaxon." I was so over it, but again, I will point out one thing. He is a guy. Take 3 guesses as to what he was staring at. "Hey, fella," I said as I tapped his chin and brought his face to eye contact. "My eyes are up here." He was still dumbfounded. I could tell he was trying to picture 17-year-old me, but just couldn't. "Elara, I tried looking for you that night." My wolf kicked my butt about it, but I put my finger over his lips to shut him up. "Shut up. I'm actually glad you rejected me," I said with a smirk. He came closer and backed me up against the wall. "Really?" I reached behind his neck and met his lips with mine. They were soft and full as they moved against mine. I kissed him with intensity. My wolf was excited, but still whimpered. I pulled back and smiled. "It showed me how much of a jerk and user you are." It let me discover who I truly am. So thanks. I patted his cheek and started to walk away. I looked back to see the shock on his face, but I walked into a wall of muscle. So, Jaxon, who do we have here? The newcomer had forest green eyes I swear I have seen before. The suit he wore clung to his body in all the right places. Alpha, this is Elara Moon. Elara, this is Alpha Kaelen Thorne. The man stuck his hand out. It's a pleasure to meet you, miss. What took me most by surprise was the gentlemanly kiss to my hand he gave. I am sorry about your mother. I also am sorry about your situation. I had to laugh. I didn't realize news travels across packs. Thank you, though. Really, it's your beta you need to congratulate for that. I know it seems petty to throw him under the bus like that, but payback is tough. The next time the Alpha's eyes met mine, I realized where I had seen him. It's a shame you let this one go. She is a great dancer and can show a guy a fun time. The look of hurt Jaxon gave me was one he shouldn't give me. It was his fault. So that girl you told me about last night from the club was her? For a moment, they looked at each other. Honestly, they were probably using the pack connection. After a moment, Jaxon looked at me. Well, I kind of just shrugged and gave Alpha Thorne a wink. What can I say? A dying girl needs her kicks. Chapter 4. Everyone left about an hour ago. I was sitting in the kitchen with a bottle of something cheap and a shot glass. As I went to slam it down, the glass was taken out of my hands. And you were cut off, Elara, Lance said as he poured it down the sink. Why didn't you tell me he would be here? I asked as I put my head on the table. You said you were over it. It seems you aren't. I am, I said in a harsh tone. Normally I would have watched it, but since his mate Angelica and daughter Clara went home, I couldn't care less. Then why are you drinking cheap stuff? It wasn't my fault, that was all Dad bought. I guess since Mom got diagnosed, though, he stopped drinking. He was never an alcoholic, but once in a while, he would drink. It's all Dad has, I muttered. Lance took a seat beside me. Why were you talking to Alpha Thorne? He just had to bring him up. If there was one thing I wanted to forget, it was my encounter with him last night. He saw Jaxon and me talking and came over. You know, because Jaxon is his beta. I tried to reach for the bottle in Lance's hand, but he pulled it away. Plus, I may have danced with him last night. That was the one thing about my twin and me. We were comfortable telling each other everything. Go to bed, Elara. I just sighed and trudged up to my room. Even in my alcohol-tainted brain, I was able to see a reality. My reality was that in 3 months, I would be dead, and there would be another funeral for my family to go through. When I thought about it, the best I could do was pull off the dress and fall right onto my bed in my undergarments. Dreams didn't come for me at all during the night. When I came to, blankets covered my body, and my ceiling fan stared down on me. I peeled myself off the bed and threw a hoodie on with some spandex. As I was walking into the living room, I saw Alice kissing her mate. Doesn't he have a house? I asked, and they broke it off. Elara, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. As I saw her mate's face turn red, I smirked. I should go. He actually got up and left. Elara, if I had known you were there, I wouldn't have done that. I just put a hand up to stop her. Alice, don't be sorry. You found your mate and should be happy. Whenever I said the word mate, my wolf seriously whimpered. Like really? My wolf needs to toughen up as I did. Don't you feel sad though when you see Lance or me with our mates? Alice was 12 when everything happened with me. She doesn't understand it too much, and I am glad she didn't. I learned to bury that and ignore my wolf's feelings a long time ago, Alice. Sometimes they didn't get it. When everything you know is shattered, it takes time to piece together a new you. With any luck, the new you is not a worse version of your previous self. Lance went home last night? I asked as I poured a bowl of cereal. Yeah, he left shortly before midnight. That was when I noticed the mark on my little sister's neck. Cover that up, sis. You know, unless you want our father to have a heart attack. Her face turned a scarlet red. I have no idea what you're talking about. I just sort of tapped my neck where the mark was on her neck, and she turned an even darker shade of red. You were cooler when you were in Europe, she said once I turned my back. I knew she didn't mean it, but it still bothered me to an extent. I'm going out for a run later. Make sure Dad knows so he doesn't freak out. Ever since the whole ordeal with being rejected, he got worried whenever I didn't contact him or tell him where I was. As soon as I finished my cereal, I went to change into some running shorts, which my dad would say are completely too short because, in his mind, I'm still his little girl and a sports bra. As I walked out the door, I pulled my hair into a ponytail. The streets were quiet, apart from a few cars that passed by. Normally, I would run in the woods, but today I just ran in town. Well, actually, I ran 2 towns over. Towns around here were only about 2 square miles. Being a werewolf, it wasn't hard to run 6 miles. I barely broke a sweat as I passed people. Suddenly, I felt a wolf run next to me. "Aren't you a little far from home?" Kaelen asked. I was probably in his territory. "My guards wanted to attack you. You should be more careful." His smirk got under my skin a bit. My wolf perked up a bit at his smile. "I'm dying soon anyway, so I don't care about being careful." I sprinted past him and through the woods. He caught up in no time, of course, because he is an alpha, but it felt good to have a man chase me. Maybe I could play around with him for a few months, but that would cause more damage than good. I mean, most young alphas I've encountered have been players and arrogant. A single hookup wouldn't matter to them. Around these parts, it was different though. Here, the betas had more players than the alphas. You know, like Jaxon. Which, speak of the devil, Jaxon appeared. Kaelen, the wolf, his eyes landed on me. "Don't worry. Your mate was just out for a run." Kaelen defended. "Ex-mate." Jaxon and I both said together. "You should go home, Elara," Jaxon said. "Look, I don't take orders from you. In fact, the only time I acknowledge your existence, Jaxon, is when my wolf is being whiny over you." Kaelen actually laughed a bit. Jaxon stalked over to me. "Watch what you say, Elara." "Okay, Jaxon, back down," Kaelen ordered him. "As of right now, the score stands at 2, Jaxon 0. Remember, you rejected her. You have no control or say in what she does or doesn't do. It was sort of satisfying having an alpha take my side. They did their whole pack mind thing, and I got bored. I turned to run back. "Elara, why don't you stay a bit?" Kaelen offered. "Sorry, not in the mood to watch you and your beta have an ego contest." If my experience with the European wolves taught me one thing, it was that when an alpha and beta constantly communicate in their minds when someone is present, it usually is an ego contest. "Then come for lunch." Jaxon actually growled. If he lived 3 towns over, I could at least make my last 3 months fun. Mostly, that meant pissing off Jaxon. Sure. Chapter 5. As we walked towards Kaelen's pack house, Jaxon took off his hoodie and handed it to me. "Cover yourself up, Elara." I shoved his hoodie right back to him. "No thanks, Jaxon. But hey, if you're looking for someone to spend time with in the next 3 months, let me know." With a smirk, I winked at him. As I tried to walk forward, he grabbed my arm and roughly spun me around. "You don't understand, Elara. There are a bunch of unmated males at the house. They will take advantage of you. Let them, Jaxon. I have 3 months left to live because of you. I'm going to use that time to have fun. So you can go take care of yourself because I have been done with dealing with my wolf's whiny nonsense about you for the past few years." I knew Kaelen could hear us, so I ran to catch up to him. Of course, since I was wearing only a sports bra as a shirt, his eyes wandered a bit. Even alphas were still men. "Like what you see, Thorne?" Part of me knew it was childish to start playing him like this, but I really wanted to get under Jaxon's skin. "Oh, I like what I see very much, Moon. You pick some of those dance moves up in Europe." With a slight movement of my hip, I bumped into him. Slowly, I leaned into his ear. "I learned a lot more than dance moves in Europe," I whispered in a slight tone. His deep chuckle rumbled through the woods, making my skin vibrate a bit. "Now those tricks I would like to see." Right then and there, I did something I've never done before. I knew he was an alpha, and even though we had interacted before, this was new. I swept right in front of him and brought his lips down to mine. In that moment, the slightest of sparks ran through my body. His lips molded against mine in a sweet and caring way. I could feel Jules' heart flutter and sink at the same time. The thing I hated about being a werewolf was the fact that half of my emotions were controlled by a boy-crazy beast. Maybe another day, Thorne. Jaxon loudly groaned as I just raised my eyebrows at him in a challenging way. He literally ran and pulled me away from Kaelen. Maybe you should stop trying to charm an alpha. It's getting really annoying and doesn't reflect well on you or your family. First of all, how dare he say that? Second of all, he can take his attitude and deal with it himself. He lost the right to care about how I act the moment he rejected me. Jules was whimpering at his touch and begged me to kiss him again. Well, hey, if you're getting annoyed by how I'm acting, maybe you shouldn't have rejected me. Elara, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm sorry. One of two things could happen here. One, I could forgive him, spend time with him, and let him mark me. Granted, I have no idea if that would prevent my death, but it was an option. Or option two, I could not forgive him and die. Do I want to die? No. But am I going to go into a relationship with the man who put me in this situation to begin with? Absolutely not. Listen, Jaxon, saying sorry isn't going to change anything. If I looked like I do now and acted how I do now in high school, you wouldn't have rejected me. So, for the next 3 months, I'll be your companion if you want to spend time together. I really don't care how you treat me. However, you and your wolf can go deal with it if you ever think I will run back to you. If I could take a moment to describe the rage on his face as I called him out, I would. There were no words to describe it except to say that he was obviously holding his wolf back. With victory in my pocket, I turned to face Alpha Thorne. Thanks for the offer, Alpha Thorne, to join you guys for lunch, but I'm sure my family would like to see me before I pass away. I didn't wait for a response as I patted his shoulder and walked away. As I broke out of the woods, I let my feet carry me home. Often when I ran, the world never bothered me. As I got closer to my death, though, it was all I thought about. I haven't been scared of my death for a while. Jules was deathly afraid, but she held on to hope that we would find our second chance at happiness. Maybe he was out there somewhere waiting for us. Maybe he was with his mate, living a happy life. The crazy thought was that maybe he was just a few towns over. Of course, my mind drifted to Kaelen. Any woman would be lucky to be mated to him. As I came to the steps of the house, I could see Dad talking with Lance and Arpax Alpha. By the time I caught Lance's warning gaze, Dad saw me and opened the door. Elara, we were just talking about you. Of course they were. Ever since I left, I guess I became the problem child. I hope it's good, I said as I walked in. Now remember, I just came back from a run and was still in running clothes my dad would disapprove of. My Alpha was standing in our living room. Normally, if the Alpha were here, I would be a bit more presentable. Instead, I just took my hair out of its hair tie. What were you guys talking about? Dad, Lance, and our Alpha exchanged glances. Eventually, our Alpha spoke up. Elara, we are concerned about your activities with Alpha Kaelen Thorne and his beta Jaxon Reed. You know, for once, I would love to be the subject of a conversation that didn't revolve around my lack of a love life. Don't worry. It's just a bit of teasing fun. I know that you should never ever dismiss yourself in the presence of an Alpha, but I went up to my room. What could they do to me? Make me a rogue? I am already dead. Chapter 6. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Most of the day, I would just sit around the house and watch TV or read. More often than not, though, I would go to a bar or a club at night. Lance would stop by the house with his daughter, and she was the sweetest thing in the world. Alice's mate, Troy, came over for dinner one night. Everyone was laughing despite the fact that one of the seats was empty. Everyone was laughing despite the fact that in another 2.5 months, another seat would be empty. After almost 5 years, we were almost a family again. Neither Jaxon nor Kaelen made appearances at any of the bars or clubs I hit up. For that, I was thankful since any time the three of us were in the same place, Jaxon tried staking a claim to me. I was walking down the street one day when I heard the most familiar voice. Haven't you kicked the bucket yet? A woman with blonde hair was walking in my direction. Not for another 9 weeks. You would think my own best friend would know my birthday. Lexa ran up to me and grabbed me in a hug, so tight I couldn't breathe. How dare you not come see me the minute you get home? What, did you meet some new fancy friends in Europe? Even in my trips around the world, I could always count on Lexa to remind me who is my best friend first. Not in Europe. I did meet this one girl in India, though. She taught me how to make the most wicked curry there is. For just the slightest moment, Lexa gave me a very serious look before both of us burst into laughter. You are coming with me tonight, and we are going to karaoke over at Lunar. Lunar was the club where Lance met Angelica. It was also where I had that run-in with Alpha Thorne. It also just so happened that the club was run by werewolves. Do I really have a choice? Lexa, we both know if I didn't, you would basically kidnap me and force me to go. Lexa didn't even deny it as she looped her arm in mine. It had been so long since I'd seen her. We actually ran into each other when I was in Amsterdam 3 years ago. So, how's the mate search coming? Lexa tended to avoid the mate subject, but being the nosy friend I am, I pushed it. It's going. I feel so close to finding him. I'm just annoyed that guy is making you break your promise. You know how two best girlfriends are more like sisters than friends? That was Lexa and me. When we were 5, we promised to be each other's maid of honor. Since everything with Jaxon, she always referred to him as that guy. What about you, Elara? Any potential second mates? I just had to laugh. How do I tell her that Jaxon was trying to convince me that he was sorry? Never in his wildest dreams would I take him back. Let's see, we have Jaxon, who has ascended to the official beta role, who is trying to apologize, but that's about it. The cringe on her face, though. Come on, Lexa, I'm not that stupid. All right, she said in relief. Let's go get ready, and I'll pick you up at 7. Since the club was like half an hour away, I easily agreed and was back home and showering within 15 minutes. I went through the motions of choosing an outfit and putting on makeup blindly. I didn't even realize I had on a pair of ripped shorts, a black sleeveless crop top, and a green jean cover that had thicker tank top sleeves until I was winging my eyeliner. The minute I realized it, I reached for a 3-necklace set, one of which was a choker. Now, Lexa was that person who, when she said she was coming at 7, really meant 7:15. Dad was waiting at the bottom of the steps when I was leaving. You going to a club tonight? My mom's death took a toll on him. In just a few weeks, wrinkles that hadn't been there before lined his eyes. Actually, I'm going to sing at Lunar's karaoke night with Lexa. Dad just dropped his face to the floor. Is it too much to ask that you at least keep your eye out for him while you're there? Lunar is famous for mates finding each other. I hate seeing Dad upset like that. All I could do was give him a hug. Dad, you know I made my choice. You and Mom supported it, and I'm sorry that it isn't what you hoped for. It was what I needed, though. Yes, I know you have to bury another family member in 2 months, but at least I'm going out after finding who I was meant to be. He wanted to say something, but was cut off by the sound of a horn. That's Lexa. I have to go. As I walked out the door, I kissed his cheek. Love you, Dad. Get this, Lexa was waiting for me in her Lexus. The ride over was silent except for talk about what songs we were singing tonight. In the past, I've been known to be obsessed with show tunes. The night before my rejection, Lexa took me to a Broadway karaoke night to celebrate my birthday. We have to sing our song, though. I swear to the moon goddess, if you don't sing it with me, the 9 weeks you have left will come so quickly you wouldn't see it. Of course, she didn't mean it, so I had to laugh. I didn't expect to get out of this night without singing it. Even as we pulled up, we saw that the club was packed. Karaoke night was always a hit or miss here. Either a ton of people came, or it was 10. Tonight, it was the former. Lexa had trouble parking, but we cleared the bouncer. Some human was up there singing a classic karaoke song as we walked in. By the way, when I say classic karaoke song, I mean Journey's Don't Stop Believing. Like seriously, every single time you go to karaoke, at least one person sings that song. I'm going to get us some beer. And just like that, Lexa left me alone. So it fell to me to claim the last empty table by the stage. During the singer switch, Lexa came back with the beers and more people crowded around us. Our song is already in. My beer never touched the table before I raised it. I'll drink to that. Just as quickly as my mood was lifted, my wolf started to perk up in a sad way as she caught the whiff of a very familiar cologne. Ugh. I'm 3 seconds away from killing Jules. Every single time that guy was in the room, my wolf backed down. Lexa was a bit confused. I loved her, but she could be a bit slow. That guy just walked in. And to my personal delight, he was following the man in the black t-shirt. With a certain alpha. Lexa raised her eyebrows in a suggestive manner. You don't understand, Lexa. It's not cool. Jaxon still acts like he has some claim over me when Alpha Thorne is around. Maybe he shouldn't have rejected you then. I couldn't even get my argument in because she dragged me up to the stage since it was our turn to sing. Now, every group of friends has that song that they claim is theirs. Mine and Lexa's just happened to be Wannabe by the Spice Girls. It had been a few years since we sang the song, so the opening was a bit rough. By the time we got midway through the first verse, we got back into our groove. As the song ended, it was a bittersweet moment. It just set in that we had probably sung that song together for the last time. When we got off the stage, Lexa pulled me into a tight hug. I'm going to miss you. Now, I hadn't cried about my death in nearly 5 years, but I had to choke a tear back. I'll miss you too. The strangest of things happened. Lexa broke the hug and looked around. He's here. What are you waiting for? Go find him. In reality, I could just shift and run home. Lexa always hated running, so I was surprised when she took off like a bullet to find him. I wasn't so lucky as I saw Jaxon coming towards me. I need a drink. Chapter 7. Let me get you a drink. I'm good, thanks. I couldn't blame the human for taking an interest in me. At least he was smart enough, though, not to try any further in offering me a drink. If only all men were like that. Besides, even if he was a nice guy, I wasn't stupid enough to take a drink from someone I didn't know. Werewolves can be affected by date rape drugs, just like anyone else. Well, then maybe you'll consider letting me buy you one. Jaxon's tight black shirt hugged his muscles in all the right places. Honestly, if I didn't know what a jerk he was, I would attempt to connect with him for one night. Are you stalking me now, Jaxon? You know I could have Lexa call the cops on that. His deep chuckle sent shivers up my spine. We both know you won't, though. So will you please let me buy you a drink? So I caved in and let him buy me a shot of tequila. He sort of eyed me as I drank it. Never seen a girl drink? He had a deep chuckle that would make any normal girl swoon. I've seen plenty of girls drink. I just didn't think I would ever see you drink anything other than a soda. Honestly, that made a lot of sense. High school was a lifetime ago, Jaxon. We were like one of those inverse graphs in math class. He got more mature as he officially stepped into his role as beta. I became that stereotypical party girl after running away from my family. Yeah, it was. Just look at us. Who would ever think that the two of us would end up where we are now? I'm pretty sure there was a bet in high school that I would be the one to die alone with a lot of dogs. Now, it might be like completely cliché, but I hate cats. It wasn't weird, though. Pretty much all of the werewolves I've met hate cats. So, instead of being a crazy cat lady, I would be a crazy dog lady. Jaxon started to say something, but then stopped himself. Part of me thought he was going to say, no, you wouldn't have. You would eventually find your mate. It didn't help my fantasy that as soon as he closed his mouth, he took a drink of beer. Thanks for the drink, Jaxon, but I'm going home. I didn't bother to look for Lexa as I left, because I knew she was with her newly found mate. I could see them already laughing and kissing from the bar. What I didn't know is that Jaxon followed me out as I left. He grabbed my arm as he said, "You can't walk home. It's freezing, for goodness sake. Let me give you a ride home." On the one hand, I really didn't want to carry these shoes in my mouth. They were brand new. Then, on the other hand, I don't think I could stand being in a car with him. In the end, the desire to keep my feet comfortable won me over. Fine. You can drive me straight home. Now, one good thing about him officially becoming beta was that he became more of a gentleman. He held open the door for me as I got in on the passenger side. The ride home was completely silent. This was the first time ever that I had actually been alone with him. Like, remember, he rejected me in front of close to 200 people. So, what did we have to say to each other? The lights were on as he pulled up to my house. So either Dad was up working late, or Alice forgot to turn off the lights. Jaxon shut the car off, but something kept me grounded to the seat. I knew what the pull was. It was the same one that werewolves used to find their mate. Since he rejected me, but my wolf was still desperate even though I wasn't, there was still that slight pull. Thanks for the ride home, Jaxon. As I reached for the handle, his calloused hands grabbed my arm and pulled me back to him. His lips caught mine with little effort. This wasn't just any kiss, though. This is one where I felt fireworks building up inside me as his lips took mine. It was that kiss where the subtext boiled down to, he was mine, and I was his. It was that kiss I had always wanted, but the one that I never got. As he pulled his lips from mine, he whispered the 4 words I never expected to hear from him. I love you, Elara. Chapter 8. Jaxon, don't. Not after all this time, I said as I tried to pull away by lightly pushing on his chest. His grip on me tightened as he pulled me closely and chastely kissed my lips. Elara, I can't just let you die for my mistake. It took you fleeing that lunchroom for me to realize what I did. Please, let me save you. Let me try to fix what I did so we can be the mates we were meant to be. His deep brown eyes were starting to gloss over like he was about to cry. Jaxon, I have just over 2 months left. I just want to have as much fun as possible. I want to leave my family happy memories of me. His hand moved from my arm to my cheek. His fingers pushed a lock of my red hair behind my ear. Then let me make those 2 months the best of your life. 2 months with you is a lot less than we should have had, but at least it's time. These were the words that part of me always wanted to hear. I could just say yes, but then what would those years away have been for? Good night, Jaxon. Then suddenly we were back in high school. As I got out of the car, he shouted, please, think about it. I couldn't live with myself if you died. Once the door was closed, he drove away. Just like in all those cheesy movies, I waited until he was around the corner to go inside. The tingling of his kiss still lingered on my lips. If he had done that back in school, I would be telling a different story. We would probably have our own kids by now. Deep down, I wanted what he offered, but I had to be strong. He threw me to the side like I was a piece of trash, and I had to remember that. I was right, though, about who was in the house. Dad didn't even look up from his computer and just kept working as I came in. It wasn't like he completely stopped working after Mom died. He has just been working from home. I think it's partly because he isn't ready to go back yet, but also partly because he wants to spend as much time with the daughter who left for years while he still can. Do I want to know why Jaxon Reed was driving you home tonight? Now, I told Dad everything. He had helped me make every big decision in my life. Lexa found her mate, and Jaxon offered a ride since it's cold. Dad let a small laugh loose. Actually, it was the most he's laughed since Mom. Didn't want to ruin the new shoes? Honestly, it was good to hear him laugh, so I felt no guilt about releasing a small laugh of my own. You know me so well. It was kind of relieving to take off my outfit and put on my hoodie and a pair of leggings once I got to my room. From up here, I could still hear Dad typing away, so I went back downstairs. Once I grabbed a water bottle, I went back to sit on the couch by Dad. What did Jaxon want, though? You two were in the car for a while before he left. He said he wants to try and save me. Apparently, he thinks that he can fix what he did. The guy even was about to cry. Dad never stopped typing. He just nodded a bit in understanding. Isn't this the part where you tell me that because you're my father, you want to see me live a long life? You're right, I am your father. He started as he closed his laptop. He looked me dead in the eyes. His eyes had wrinkles and bags that weren't there before. It was like over the past few weeks, he aged 20 years. It's because I am your father, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I trust you to make your own choices. It's not like I'll be alone if you decide not to try and fix things with Jaxon. I'll still have your brother and sister. It's because I'm your father that I just want you to die happy. It was my turn to let tears gloss over my eyes. Sometimes it seemed that my dad was wiser than our Alpha. Somehow, he always knew just what to say, and tonight was no exception. It was because of his words that I knew I couldn't let Jaxon try and save me. I grew too much to let high school risk repeating itself. So, after hugging my dad, I went upstairs to bed. Not one tear fell over Jaxon Reed. Chapter 9. Now, one of the best things about where I live is that there is a Starbucks within walking distance of my house. So, of course, I went in there with a book and the intention to read it. Honestly, I don't even remember the last time I actually sat down to just read. Starbucks was just one of those places to me where I could just sit down and get a book done in like 2.5 hours. It was nice to just relax with a book about witches and a nice cold frappuccino with no thought of Jaxon trying to redeem himself. Funny, I didn't peg you for a reader. When I looked up at the owner of the husky voice, I did not expect to be met with the forest green eyes I was actually ashamed to say I missed seeing this past week. Funny, I didn't peg you for a Starbucks guy, Kaelen. His deep chuckle made butterflies appear inside my stomach. I hated how he did that to me. Like, seriously, it was a pain. It's not like Kaelen even bothered to ask if the chair across from me was taken, as he just sat down in it. Then again, he was an alpha, so he could do whatever he wanted. I suppose you are here to convince me to give Jaxon a chance. It seemed like Jaxon was desperate too. From what I could tell, he wasn't close to finding his second chance. If he couldn't find one and produce an heir, the beta line in Kaelen's pack would have to follow Jaxon's brother. His brother was an even bigger idiot than he was. Actually, no, I'm not. I just find that this Starbucks has nicer baristas than the one in my territory. Seeing you here was just an added bonus. He flashed me that smile that captured my attention at the club last month. Don't get me wrong. Besides those amazing eyes, Kaelen was well built. I could tell you from the way his black shirt hugged his body that his muscles were well defined, but they weren't too hard or too soft. I could tell you the same about the muscles in his legs based on how he wore his shorts. I could tell from dancing close to him that night that he had a strong build. It wasn't his body that kept drawing me to him, though. Every time we had interacted, he made me laugh in a way no one else has. I want you to come out with me today. I literally almost choked on my drink. You mean like on a date? I did not see that coming. Here was my predicament. I should say yes because he is an alpha, and it isn't polite to say no to one. On the other hand, I didn't want it to seem like I was a mistress. People had seen me the other night with Jaxon, and even my alpha came to talk with my father about what happened between Kaelen, Jaxon, and me. Well, yes and no. Think of it as an outing to learn more about each other. So, how could I say no to that? Sure, why not? What did you have in mind? And that wicked grin he gave me let me know I was in for some fun. I didn't really know how much fun I was in for until Kaelen pulled up to one of those attraction parks. You know, the ones with go-karts, laser tag, mini-golf, and other things. It was far enough from either territory that no one knew who we were, yet close enough that if a problem arose in his pack, he could be back to his territory in less than an hour. So, what do you want to do first? Mini-golf? Laser tag? Get beaten on the go-kart track? The choice is yours, Miss Moon. I'll have you know, Mr. Thorne, that once upon a time, I was the go-kart queen during family reunions. He laughed as we entered the building. I couldn't help but laugh as well. He just had one of those heartwarming laughs, you know? The kind where it's impossible not to laugh back, and not because you feel like you have to. It's that feeling where you laugh because you want to laugh. We shall see, Elara. We shall see. So he took my hand, and we went mini-golfing. I have never been good at that, so Kaelen beat me at mini-golf. Laser tag, though, was double-teamed. We ended up playing against this couple who were so well-synced, I was more than sure they were the human equivalent of mates. Well, what humans call true love, or whatever the Romeo and Juliet story is. Now, Kaelen and I were synced as well. Of course, being werewolves helped a little in our victory because we could sense them and hear their movements. It was the go-karts, though, that were the most fun. Kaelen was constantly chasing my tail, or I was chasing his. Both of us just continuously lapped and passed by people. On the last lap, though, I passed him one final time before we had to go into the stalls. I was quite proud of myself. At first, I thought he was letting me win. By a quarter way through, though, when he first passed me, I knew he wasn't. I can now cross-beat an alpha off my bucket list. It kind of helps when you make your bucket list non-specific. It just makes it easier to cross stuff off. And I bow down to you. Oh, hi go-kart queen, Kaelen said as he made a mock bow. Remind me not to doubt you again. I laughed just the slightest bit. You bet I will. He smiled at me as he took a hand and pushed a few loose strands of my hair behind my ear. The blood rushed to my cheeks as his fingers brushed against my skin. It was in this moment that I fought so hard not let my heart win and just kiss him. Chapter 10. So let me get this right. You rule the go-kart track, you completely excel at laser tag, and you are an exceptional dancer. Besides mini-golf, is there anything you can't do? Kaelen flashed me a half-smile that hid his laugh as we headed home. I am terrible at Scrabble. Like, seriously, I would rather avoid playing that game with my brother. Now, of course, I would never harm Lance, but I hate Scrabble. Like, seriously, I'm 90% sure that game was invented to make a phonetic speller's life difficult. Now that game I roll at. It was my turn to laugh. How come I never saw you around school? Jaxon was his beta, and he went to school with me along with his pack. I was homeschooled. My parents had a smart kid and knew the school in this area didn't have the best accelerated class track. Now get your feet off the dashboard. He playfully pushed my feet off as he chuckled. His parents were right, though. The accelerated track at the school was lacking. I was on it for as long as I could remember, and it wasn't that challenging. What about you? Did you end up getting your GED? That was actually a tragic story. I did. Actually, I got it by March of what was supposed to be my senior year. I spent every moment of my free time working on it. Once again, Kaelen let out that heartwarming laugh. Obviously, you can take the girl and get rid of the nerd physically, but the nerd will always be inside the girl. This time, I playfully slapped him. The whole car ride, we had been asking each other questions back and forth, but there was one burning question on my mind. How come you haven't found your mate yet? In the slight moment I looked over to him, I could swear that I saw him choke back tears. They were threatening to spill over his forest green eyes, and my heart broke a bit. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. He wiped the one tear away with the back of his hand. No, it's okay. It's just a bit of a sad story is all. About 2 years ago, I did find her. He started. I could tell that even now it was hard for him to tell this story. I was out on patrol and heard a car accident. I was the first one to the scene, and there were 2 cars. The driver of one of the cars was moving around, so I went to help the person in the other car. It was flipped over, so it was harder to get to the other driver. She was unconscious, so I spent a good 5 minutes trying to wake her up. The moment she opened her eyes and stared into mine, I knew it was her. My wolf felt like his heart was being restarted after a long sleep. She said that her name was Emily. Eventually, I was able to get her out of the car and onto the pavement. I couldn't let her out of my arms though, you know? Someone else had heard the crash and called 911, so I heard the sirens in the distance. Just by Emily's smell, I knew she was human and not one of us. There was so much blood everywhere, and I couldn't do anything except keep her calm and comfortable. As Kaelen told the story, I knew how it ended. He kept going though. By the time the ambulance got there, Emily was dead. As soon as I found her, I lost her. Kaelen had one hand on his lap, and I reached over to grab it. I'm so sorry, Kaelen. He gave me a quick, sad smile before turning his eyes to the road. So, while we're on the subject, how did Jaxon reject you? What? Hold on a moment. Jaxon never told him. Oh, this was just grand. He said the words right at lunch in front of pretty much the whole school. Since everyone was one of us, he didn't even bother to make it quiet. He didn't even pull me into another room to reject me. I pretty much spent the whole first week with my cousin, calling him every name in the book. That just sounds classless, Elara. How do you deal with your wolf? The million-dollar question. I don't. I completely shut Jules out because she was the reason I couldn't just move on through life. Now granted, this wasn't as sad a story as his, but it was true. Spare me the nonsense, too, about how shutting my wolf out makes me weaker. I don't care. It was what needed to be done. The rest of the ride after that was just silent. When he pulled up to my house, I didn't have time to get out before he opened my door for me. That made me feel appreciated inside so much. Thank you, Kaelen. Today was a blast. Kaelen pushed a lock of hair behind my ear and smiled. Thank you, Elara, for coming. Just like the true gentleman of old, he brought my hand up and kissed it. Slowly, his hand moved up my neck as he brought me closer to him. His soft lips were drawing nearer to mine. Before I knew it, they were just an inch away. Was it wrong that I wanted him to kiss me again? In a soft way, too. Not like that night at the club or like the one in the forest. Just soft. Kaelen, I can't. I couldn't see the look on his face, so I just walked up to my door and listened to him drive away. Chapter 11. 31 days until May 4th, and a month had never passed by so fast. I never had a moment alone anymore, but I knew why. I also knew that Lance and I would be celebrating our birthdays on May 3rd this year because of what would happen the next day. Today was the first day since I went to the attraction park with Kaelen that I was alone. The woods were just so quiet that it gave me a good place to think. Even with the storm coming in, I didn't want to go back. I've been sitting under this tree since 3 in the afternoon, and I spent the last 3 hours trying to work up the courage to do what I came out here to do. So now, at 6:10 in the evening, I pull out the pen and paper I brought with me to start writing. About 2 weeks ago, I decided to write letters to my family, just so they have a piece of me for when I'm gone. The first letter I wrote was for my sister. Hers was easy to get through because there wasn't much to say besides I love her and impart some wisdom to her. I knew Mom was gone, but I still wrote her a short letter. Hers was mostly about how I would be seeing her again soon. I was halfway through Ruby's letter when the first crack of thunder hit. See, it wasn't the thunder that bothered me, but what the thunder masked. Jaxon came out from the tree line. "Hey, Elara." I just picked up my stuff and threw it into my bag before I walked up to him. "Hey, Jaxon, what's up?" Right away, I could tell something was off. He had a sweet smile, but there was rage in his eyes. He stood with his hands behind his back and closed the distance between us like I was his prey and he was the hunter. I started looking for escape routes in case things went south. "Oh, nothing really, except for one small thing. I offer you a chance at life, but you go out with my Alpha?" Something doesn't seem right there, considering he isn't even your mate, and I am. He actually laughed a bit. "I think I know what it is. You're just climbing pack ranks." I couldn't hold my rage anymore and slapped his face with all my might. Actually, I was quite proud of that slap because his head snapped the other way. If you knew anything, you would know that nothing has ever happened. You would also know that I always stop his advances and mine. So don't you ever call me that because that is not me. As I turned to walk away, he grabbed my arm and pinned it behind my back. "Let me go, Jaxon." He twisted my arm up even more in a painful way. I tried to twist out of his grip, but he held on tighter. "Just accept my offer and let me try and save you, Elara." I had to let out a slight laugh. "Why?" "So you can still see other girls behind my back and don't have to feel guilty about my death." With the final nail driven into my coffin, he forced me to the ground. Before I could get up, he flipped me around so I was staring into his eyes. The only thing I could think to do was spit in his face. Thankfully, that was enough of a distraction for me to get out from under him. As I tried to run, he grabbed me around my waist and held me from behind. "Do you realize how much you have humiliated me, Elara? My reputation in the pack is going downhill." I was able to drive my elbow into him hard enough for him to let me go. As I looked at him, I realized my options were limited. I was smaller, but faster than him, so I could try to get some quick hits in. However, he was bigger and stronger than I, so it wouldn't be all that hard for him to trap me. Before I could make a decision on what to do, though, Jaxon struck me in the face. "You jerk." I have to get away. So I did the one thing he might not expect me to. I shifted. As I ran from him, I started shifting. I didn't mind the pain of bones breaking, but I knew from the moment my paws hit the ground that something was off. The shifting bought me some time, but only seconds, because I could hear Jaxon shifting to catch up with me. The black wolf was on my right, and I pushed myself to run faster. The lightning served as a natural light to our race, and the heavy rain gave our race a different texture. After a little bit, I pulled ahead. It never occurred to me that he let me pull ahead. Well, not until I felt his teeth bite into my right shoulder. That hurt a lot. Not only did the pressure I had to put on it in order to propel myself forward make it hurt, but the bite itself was starting to burn. I don't know how long I ran before I collapsed, and the black wolf stood over me. If this was the end of me, then so be it. I looked into his eyes because I would not shy away from the wolf who was about to end me. The last thing he would see before he died would be the eyes of the person he harmed. I must have had a guardian angel, though, because as a wolf howled in the distance, Jaxon scurried off like a little wimp. As the adrenaline wore off, the aches and pains started to settle in. Out of the woods, a figure stepped out of the tree line. He knelt down in front of me and stroked the top of my head. Elara, I need you to shift back. You would expect his voice to be rough, but it wasn't. Kaelen moved my wolf head into his lap. His moving me like that made me whimper a bit. Elara, it will be easier to get you somewhere safe if you shift back. And so I shifted back despite all the aches and pains. As the rain fell around us and the lightning lit up the sky, Kaelen took off his hoodie and put it around my body. With such grace, he picked me up in his arms and carried me. As the tears started to silently fall, Kaelen held me closer to him. I've got you now, Elara. You're going to be all right. Chapter 12. You definitely sprained this. Well, not me, but Jaxon. The storm had knocked out the power, so Kaelen was using the light from his fireplace to wrap up my wrist with an ACE wrap just until it healed in about a day. Since he brought me to his place, the hoodie, which by the time we got here was soaked, was replaced by a pair of his boxers and one of his tank tops. Of course, it was all big and baggy, but it was all comfy and smelled like him. Both of us were soaked to the bone and cold. I was shivering, but it was Kaelen's eyes that let me know he was cold. He didn't say a word as he moved to look at my shoulder. Only a couple of these got deep enough to need stitches. He put some rubbing alcohol on the bite to keep it from getting infected, and it stung like crazy. The worst part, though, was when he stitched up the couple of spots that needed stitches. Where did you learn to do that? Any sort of conversation would help take my mind away from the pain. I would get into a lot of fights when I was younger, alpha temper and all. As a punishment, my dad would make me stitch up my own wounds. He said it would teach me to control my temper. Well, it worked, because I soon learned not to get into fights when I realized how much it hurt to get certain injuries. As he snipped the remaining thread, Kaelen put an antibiotic cream on the bite and then a bandage. Slowly, I turned to face him. Thank you. Some of my wet hair had fallen in front of my eye, and Kaelen pushed a lock or two behind my ear, revealing the black eye I had. Who did this to you, Elara? Please let me take care of it for you. I bit my lip a bit as I looked into the fireplace. Jaxon got angry that I wouldn't accept his offer and that I've been hanging out with you. He even called me a pack rank climbing opportunist. Kaelen's soft fingers brushed a falling tear away from my cheek. Slowly, he pulled me closer to him and into his arms. With his lips so close to mine, my heart picked up. Every second, he got closer to my lips, and I wanted him to capture my lips in his. Kaelen, stop. I can't do this. I could feel his breath against mine. His heart was pounding so loud I could hear it. Why not Elara? Why can't you let yourself be close to someone? Because I have 31 days left until I die. I don't want to hurt anyone whom I can avoid hurting. I could tell he didn't buy it. He snaked his arms around my neck and closed the distance between my lips and his. His soft lips crushed against mine in a way where all I wanted to do was melt into this kiss. I see you, Elara. I see a girl who is scared but won't admit it to herself. I see a girl who was confident at first, but now the confidence is a mask to hide the fear of death. I see a girl who, for so long, thought she couldn't be truly loved by anyone, that she won't let anyone near her. He pulled my chin up so I was looking right into those forest greens of his. Let me give you the best 31 days of your life, Elara. Let me show you what real love is, because nobody should die without knowing real love. There was a pleading look in his eyes that would have compelled me to say yes, even if I didn't want it. The truth is, I wanted it more than I can describe. It was as if I would die right away if I didn't. My response to his offer wasn't verbal. Instead, I gave him a soft kiss on the lips. He was the one who intensified it by pulling me deeper and closer into him. As things got more heated, Kaelen lay me back against the couch. The second he started kissing my neck, our little makeout session was interrupted. Kaelen, half the pack, doesn't have power. I had never seen anyone move as fast as Kaelen did when he pinned Jaxon to the wall. Kaelen's arm was pressed against Jaxon's windpipe as Jaxon was struggling to get free. In what world do you get to just beat someone up because you didn't like how they are living their life? The growl from Kaelen even scared me. It was only then that Jaxon even saw I was there. Despite Kaelen depriving him of air, Jaxon gave me a glare that would kill me if it could. I'm going to make this very clear to you, Jaxon. The only reason that you are keeping your title of beta and not being thrown out of the pack is that your brother is an even bigger fool than you. However, if I ever find out that you laid a hand on Elara again, I won't hesitate to throw you out. With great force, Kaelen freed Jaxon from his grasp. Now get out of my sight. I can't deal with you now. For some reason, the sight of Jaxon leaving with his tail between his legs was very satisfying. For the rest of the night, Kaelen and I talked and kissed by the fireplace until I fell asleep encased in his protective arms. Chapter 13. Oh, come on. Don't tell me you learned to cook from some fancy school. Kaelen just laughed a bit as he cut up some mushrooms and put them in the pan with some garlic butter sauce. Actually, no, I learned from my mom, who did go to a fancy culinary school. We were 2 weeks into him promising me the best 31 days of my life, and so far, he hadn't failed to deliver. Every day or night, he had surprised me in some way. It was either a spontaneous picnic or a dinner like tonight. Sometimes we grabbed coffee, and other times we just took a stroll through the town. Heck, a couple of days ago, we just sat here in his living room watching movies and eating popcorn all day. Deep down, I knew what he was doing was working because every time he showed up, it always excited me and warmed my heart. Hell, when he came by to pick me up tonight, he didn't care that I was in just a hoodie and leggings. He didn't even care that I had no makeup on or that I was using my glasses instead of my contacts. He just said, "I'm making you dinner tonight, grab your phone and let's go." So that was how I ended up here tonight. Just sitting on his couch, drinking a glass of Malbec while he was in the kitchen cooking. And damn, did he look good in the kitchen. It was like the kitchen was an extension of him. So, what about you, oh great nomad? Do you have any secret cooking skills that I should know of? Well, we did spend a little under a year in Italy. I ended up taking some classes, but they were on the more dessert side. Then again, I did learn how to make a couple of Indian dishes during my 2 months in India. As I finished my glass of wine, I went over to him. "Let me help." Slowly, he stepped aside and let me in. I moved the already cooked pasta into the pan with the mushrooms and added some more of the garlic butter sauce to the pan. I got like 30 seconds into stirring before Kaelen stepped in. "No, no, no, you're doing it all wrong." "How?" "There is like only one way to stir." Instead of just pushing me out of the way, Kaelen came up behind me. As he snaked his arms through mine, his hand grasped mine and took control of my movements. "You're going too fast. When it comes to cooking, some things turn out better when you stir fast, and others turn out better when they are being slowly stirred." His warm breath made goosebumps cover my neck. He slowly placed a trail of kisses up my neck while stirring the pasta. He was about to kiss my lips when the oven went off. Garlic bread is done. And saved by the bell I was. Okay, technically it was a kitchen timer, but you get the gist. Honestly, I was actually a little bit frustrated about that. Sometime in the last 2 weeks, his touch and kisses became a second home for me, and I missed them when his touch wasn't there. There was one thing we hadn't done, though, since Kaelen made that promise, and I was okay with the fact that we hadn't hooked up yet. As Kaelen brought me a couple of plates, I put half of the dish on his plate and half on mine. When he walked to the table, I found myself thinking, would it be wrong for me to have a sliver of hope that he was my second chance? It wasn't that big of one, but it was the tiniest sliver. The only problem was that whenever I noticed that sliver, I had to remind myself that it wasn't okay for me to have even that much hope. Even as he sat across from me with a smile in his eyes and food in his mouth, my own small smile felt a bit off. He was right that night that I was attacked. As the last sands in my hourglass fall, I am terrified to die. The more time I spent with him, the more I never wanted to leave his side. Hell, I have no idea how he was even able to make that offer to me when his own partner died in his arms the moment he found her. I did know this, though. I would make the most of every day that Kaelen gave me. Chapter 14. Time to take a shot, dear brother. It had become a tradition for Lance and me to do a shot together on our birthday. They ended up coming to Europe for many birthdays, and since the drinking age there is 18, it just sort of happened. Normally, it was a tequila shot, but Lance insisted that we branch out and try something else. So that was how we ended up doing a German chocolate cake shot. Lance's face scrunched up as he finished the shot. Guess which one of us could hold their alcohol better? Come on. Why can't I have one? We were used to Alice complaining for the past couple of years as we took our shot. Tell you what, Alice, you can drink as soon as you turn 21. Sometimes being the big sister had its perks, and while I was still here, I could make her life a living hell. And Alice, if you do drink before you are 21, I will haunt you from the grave. Again, you were cooler when you were in Europe. As much fun as it was to see Alice sulk in disappointment, something just felt like it was missing. I knew exactly what it was, but I couldn't bring myself to call him, even though he had said he would come. This was one of those times I had to ignore my heart and listen to my head. In the past 30 days, Kaelen had done everything he promised he would. It just seemed a little cruel to see him now. Yet, at some point, my heart went out and I found myself on my way to his house. When he opened the door, my heart fluttered. He was wearing only sweatpants and looked like he had just finished working out. Elara, what are you doing here? Just shut up. I threw my arms around his neck and pulled him down to meet my lips. The kiss was short, but it was exactly what I needed. I had to do that one last time. As I tried to pull away, Kaelen wrapped his arms around my waist and drew me closer, closing the door behind us. This time, he initiated the kiss, deeper and more certain. Being held against him felt warm and right. It doesn't have to be just that kiss. He was right. For the first time, I wanted more than a fleeting moment. Kaelen knew the real me in a way no one else ever had, and he always made me feel truly seen and cared for. We spent the night together, lost in each other's company. He was gentle and attentive, always checking in with me, putting my comfort first in a way that was new and precious. We took our time, sharing quiet closeness and connection. One thing was for sure, though, neither of us would ever forget this night. Chapter 15. The sun was beating down on my face as I soaked up the warmth for one final time. After a special night, I snuck out of Kaelen's place and back to my own house to change. I put on a white sundress and a neutral makeup scheme. I wanted to take a picture before I left because I looked good. I was going out looking my best. I left the letters I wrote with Lance to give to people after I'm gone, and he knows exactly where to find me. He actually helped me pick this spot. It was a meadow filled with flowers, with a waterfall in the distance. The trees created some nice texture in nature, and it felt like something out of a story. Lance knew not to come get me until 1 p.m. That was exactly 12 minutes after I passed. I didn't peg you for a sneaking out girl. Kaelen's voice actually made me jump. How did you find me? He chuckled a bit as he sat next to me. Compared to last night, he had on a pair of blue jeans and a black t-shirt. Your brother told me where to find you. Of course, I ignored him when he said not to come after you. Now, I swore to myself that no tears would fall today. In that moment, though, tears were close to spilling over. Why are you here, Kaelen? It wasn't that I didn't want to see him. He had watched someone close to him pass away already. I was worried that seeing me go would hurt him beyond repair. I came here because I don't think you deserve to be alone. I know you have this plan with Lance, but I love you, Elara. I didn't want to scare you by saying it. Kaelen always had this habit of springing things like this on me. I didn't know what it felt like to be loved by someone. In the past month, Kaelen gave me that feeling. I have a birthday gift for you. I wanted to give it to you last night, but then we lost track of time. As the memories of our evening came flooding in, a blush came across my cheeks. Kaelen handed me an unwrapped, black box. When I opened it, there was an oval-shaped pendant that had a red stone pressed into it. Thank you, Kaelen. It's beautiful. Help me put it on. I moved my red locks to the side of my neck as he clasped the necklace around me. As I turned to face him, those green eyes were staring right into mine. Kaelen reached his hand behind my neck and brought me up to meet his lips. Halfway through our kiss, my head started to get dizzy. He didn't press on further. Instead, he just lay us back and let me use his chest as a pillow. What time is it? I hadn't brought anything with me. Luckily for us, he did. 12:40, 8 minutes to go. Don't worry, Elara. I am going to stay right here. My mind was screaming at me to push away from him as he wrapped his arm around me. My heart, on the other hand, put my arms around him and pulled him closer. Time was either moving really fast or really slow because I found it harder to keep my eyes open. On the bright side, this was peaceful. As I closed my eyes, I felt Kaelen kiss the top of my head, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It took me forever to realize this, but now that I have, I wish I had learned it sooner. Now that I know what it feels like to love and be loved in return, I couldn't think of a better way to find peace than in the arms of the man I love. Epilogue. Christmas Day 5 years later. Kaelen's POV. Daddy. Come on. Mommy and Edward are waiting for you. Don't get me wrong, I love my daughter more than anything in the world, but she was my alarm clock. Everyone hits the snooze button the first time. Tell your mother I'll be down in a minute, M. Without opening my eyes, I could hear my daughter bouncing down the steps to see her presence. Eventually, I did make my way downstairs, where Emily and Edward were running around. You know how they say twins tend to run in the family? Well, it turns out to be true because that's how we got Em and Ed. Now, the names weren't my choice. My wife insisted that they share the first letter in their names, and you know what they say, a happy wife equals a happy life. It was actually kind of funny the way Elara and I ended up married. The moment I realized she was still breathing, I woke her up. Both of us were confused about what this meant until we came to the same conclusion. We ran to the courthouse, where I had some strings to pull, and were married that day. We didn't even tell her family until we were husband and wife. Not long after that, Elara found out she was pregnant, and not long after that, we found out it was twins. So that's how we ended up here today. The kids were opening gifts as Elara sat by me, looking just as beautiful as the day we first met. Even with all the ups and downs that brought us here, both of us knew we wouldn't change a thing. Besides, both of us were healthy and very much alive. Have I told you that I love you yet today, Kaelen? No, I don't think you have. With the slightest smirk, she pulled me in for a quick, sweet kiss. Well, I love you, Kaelen. The end.